everybody! Today I'm going to show you how to make this pretty lace ribbon cookie using SugarVeil icing. This video is part of a collaboration featuring SugarVeil Products. I'll have links for all of these wedding sweets videos in the description or at the end of this video. To get started, we'll mix up our SugarVeil icing using the oven quick set instructions. Mix 2/3 of a cup of the SugarVeil powder with 1/3 of a cup of water. Mix on medium speed for about 4 minutes. Scrape down the bowl about halfway through. When properly mixed, the SugarVeil icing is white, opaque, and pourable consistency. To make the SugarVeil fabric, use the back of one of the silicone lace mats and dust it with cornstarch. Make sure you're spreading the cornstarch over the entire area and dust off any excess. Pour a generous amount of the SugarVeil icing onto the mat and use the SugarVeil confectioner spreader to spread the icing in a thin, even layer. Then, using even pressure at a nice low angle, give one final pass. Use a little notch on the fin tool to make a clean border. This will help make it easy to remove the SugarVeil fabric from the mat. To set the SugarVeil fabric, we'll place it on a flat cookie sheet in a 200-degree preheated oven for about 5 to 8 minutes. The actual time will vary depending on the humidity in your environment. Keep a careful eye on it so you don't over dry it. The SugarVeil is set as soon as it's no longer sticky. Right out of the oven you can see the SugarVeil is no longer sticky when I touch it. Remove the silicone mat from your baking sheet and use a damp lint-free cloth to wipe down the SugarVeil, concentrating the moisture on the outer edges. Now you'll let the piece set for about 10 minutes to cool and set up. The actual time again will vary depending on the humidity in your area. You'll know your piece is ready to remove when the edges easily separate from the mat. To remove, place the mat face down on parchment so it won't stick to your surface and start removing it along the edge with your finger or the fin tool. Once you get it started, we're going to use the SugarVeil confectioner spreader to anchor the SugarVeil as we pull the mat away from it. If you're not quite ready to work with your piece yet, you can keep it stored underneath the silicone mat for a short time or under plastic. Now we'll take similar steps to create a piece of lace using the mesh mat. Dust with cornstarch. Pour on some SugarVeil icing. And use the spreader tool at a low angle to push the SugarVeil down into the grooves of the lace mat. Go in all sorts of different directions and look carefully to make sure there are no air bubbles or gaps. You want all the little spaces of the lace to be filled in with SugarVeil completely. The low angle helps push the SugarVeil down into the mat as opposed to pulling it out of the grooves. Then give the mat one final swipe with the spreader tool. The mesh mat takes about 5.5 minutes in a 200-degree oven, but again, watch it carefully. With the lace mat right out of the oven, you want to polish it well with a damp cloth. You want to make sure the edges are clean and all of the spaces in the lace don't have any film left on them. Then let the lace set for another 8 to 10 minutes depending on your humidity. If it's a particularly dry day or dry climate in your area, you may want to use damp towels around the edges of the SugarVeil. When the lace is set, it will easily release from the edge of the mat. Face down on parchment, carefully use your fingers or the fin tool to start removing the edge of the lace from the mat. Then move to the spreader and a few inches at a time, peel the mat back from the lace. Now you have a nice flexible piece of lace to work with. Again, keep it under a silicone mat or plastic when you're not using it so it won't dry out. Using an approximately 3" by 3" piece of SugarVeil fabric, gather one edge to make pleats. Then fold down the top and bottom edges so they look clean and hemmed. Now place this on a cookie that I've coated with royal icing and allowed to dry overnight. The gathered side should be just off center. If the SugarVeil isn't sticking on its own, you can use just a little bit of water to attach it. Use an X-Acto blade or a sharp knife to trim the excess. Repeat the process and add another ribbon on the opposite side of the cookie. Now we'll make ribbons with the mesh lace using the same steps. Gather one side, use a little bit of water if they're not sticking. And we'll lay the mesh ribbon over the SugarVeil fabric ribbons, making sure there's separation so they're not laying flush to each other. Now take a 1" by about 5" piece of the SugarVeil fabric and fold it over. Press the cut edges together. If they don't stick automatically, use a little bit of water. Fold 1" back and secure it with water. Then gather the cut edge to form a flat rosette. Use a small pair of scissors to trim the excess. Now repeat the steps with a strip of the mesh lace, but this time we're going to create a slightly smaller rosette. Now use just a little bit of water to secure the lace rosette on top of the SugarVeil fabric rosette. And attach the entire piece in the center of the cookie. Now we'll use the air pen to add detail. The air pen consists of a cartridge, the compressor, the air pen housing with the tubing attached, and it has a hole that you control the airflow with your finger. It also has these tips that come in a variety of sizes, the follower, an air shield which keeps air from blowing on your strings, and a storage tip. You'll want to add your SugarVeil icing to a piping bag first. And pipe it into the cartridge to about 2/3 full. Add the follower with the open side facing outward and use the puller tool to compress it down onto the SugarVeil icing. The cartridge then screws into the air pen housing. Remove the storage tip and then screw on the piping tip. For this project, I'm using the blue tip, which is the smallest in the kit. Turn on the compressor, and then start the icing flow by putting your finger over the hole. You control how quickly the icing flows out by how much you cover the hole with your finger. The air pen can be used with any icing, and it's a great tool. The airflow creates all of the pressure, alleviating hand and wrist fatigue that you might get with a traditional piping bag. SugarVeil icing is great for creating dots because it always forms a nice round bead, never any peaks to knock down. On this cookie, we're going to use the air pen to create a Swiss dot pattern. And we'll also add some detail to the lace piece by adding random beads. Add a large bead of the SugarVeil icing to the center of the rosette, and we'll add a dragée here. It's a little overkill for this project, but I wanted to show you my favorite tool from the kit I received, the vacuum pickup tool. It's a cartridge with a hole attached to a vacuum machine. You put your finger over the hole to create suction and pick up a dragée or decoration. No more tweezers flinging dragées all over the place. The tip has a rubber edge and it holds the dragée securely until you place it where you want it. For this project, just place a dragée right in the center of the rosette to finish off the cookie. I want to thank SugarVeil for sending me some great products to try. And don't forget, find out how to make these wedding sweets made with SugarVeil products. Thanks for watching!